All right, scary movie time again. So, this movie came out in September of 2023. The the box office on the film is $7.3 million. They didn't show the exact budget on the film, but I typed it out on ChatGPT and they said some sources indicated that there were approximate numbers of like 5 million. So in that case, they made $2.3 million off the movie. Now let's say if the budget was as high as 6 million or even 7 million, that means that they gained 1.3 off the movie, 1.3 million, or if the budget was 7 million, that means that they gained just only 300,000. But it's a very small gain, still better than any loss. But I'm just going to go with the 5 million because that's what ChatGPT said. And as a lot of you know by now, ChatGPT, I trust that even more so than Google at this point. So, and I will be discussing ChatGPT in a separate video. Now, I will say the reviews on this movie were actually, these reviews and the ratings and scores from these different sources are actually a little bit higher than I thought. A little bit. But before I get into that, so here's this. Desperate to fit in at school, Sam rejects her East Indian culture and family to be like everyone else. However, when a mythological demonic spirit latches onto her former best friend, she must come to terms with her heritage to defeat it. Now, this movie is available to watch on Hulu. And I don't know how much longer it's going to be on there, so if you want to watch it, I suggest checking it out there now. If you happen to miss it, of course, you can rent it on Amazon or YouTube. Now, as far as the main cast, the main character Sam is played by Megan Suri. Then there's her mother, Purna, played by Neeru Bajwa. The dad, Inesh, played by Vic Sahay. Then you have Sam's friend, Tamira, played by Mohana Krishnan. Her other friend, Russ, played by Gage Marsh. And the teacher, Joyce, played by Betty Gabriel. And then there's other people. So, as far as the scores from these different sources, I thought I was going to see scores of like 30 to 50, maybe 40 to 50%. For the most part, I was actually kind of wrong on that. Some of the scores are just a little bit higher, just a little bit. Google users gave it 50 to 56%. Metacritic gave it a 50, so about right for them. Internet Movie Database gave it a 52, and here's the part that actually shocked me the most. By the way, Common Sense Media gave it a 60, and I'll get to that in a second. Rotten Tomatoes actually gave it a 64%. This is a low-budget film that wasn't in theaters for that long. I'm assuming most people probably forgot about it by now because it didn't get good marketing and good advertising exposure. Usually Rotten Tomatoes would give something like that maybe a 30 to 35, maybe a 40 at best. Maybe somewhat, kind of possibly 45. They gave it 64. So I'd say that's great for them. For this movie and for Rotten Tomatoes, that's a pretty good number. That's a great number. Now, Common Sense Media, let's go to this. Not going to give too many spoilers here. Positive messages. A little bit. It says focuses on the immigrant experience, people of color, and the conflict between wanting to fit in and remaining true to one's culture and possibly feeling like an outsider. Fit in, often sacrificing aspects of tradition and culture to do so. Movie eventually demonstrates that there may be a middle ground between these two positions, accepting that your culture is a way of being true to yourself. Good message there. Violence and scariness, there's a lot. Now, this is not like your typical slasher film. This is not Michael Myers or Jason or Freddy or Ghostface walking around stabbing people with a knife or a machete or claws or anything like that. This one was a little bit more, it was more Insidious / Conjuring-ish type. Teen killed by invisible monster, body thrashed around, strangled by chains of a swing set, bite marks. blood spray on lawn, woman slammed against glass window, trickle of blood on wall, dead body, burnt and bloodied. Characters are stabbed and lifted and thrown to floor. Bloody claw marks. Young woman swatted around by demon. She whacks it back with a metal bar. Minor bloody wounds. Skittering, creeping, contorting creature with long, stringy hair. Bloody, blood dripping from backpack, blah, 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 all that stuff. So a lot of you are like, yep, we get it. Horror films, all that stuff. Scary movies, all that stuff. Parents need to know that this movie is a horror movie centered on an Indian American teen who's struggling with her identity and must also contend with a murderous demon. And the violence, and they repeat all that stuff, and I've already gone over that. One parent commented and one kid commented. Does it say what I think it says? Did this one parent give it a 100%, or are those not filled in? What did the kid say? The kid gave it an 80%. Okay. Now here's how they break it down. What's the story? In this movie, Indian American high school student Sam, that's the nickname Sam, her name is Samita, but they go by Sam, struggles with her identity. She abandons her childhood friend Tamira, who has been acting strange lately, looking jittery and exhausted and carrying around a glass jar, and befriends the clueless Kitty, played by Beatrice Kitsos, and pines after school hunk Russ. Tamira approaches Sam asking for help. She claims that something evil and powerful is in the jar and is getting stronger, but Sam smashes it. Soon Tamira has disappeared. Sam starts seeing strange and terrifying things, and people around her begin dying. With help from her teacher, Joyce, and eventually her strict mother, Purna, Sam must identify the evil force and find a way to stop it. Now, is it any good? Parents say 100, kids say 80. Their review says 60. Parents and kids were being way nicer than you on this one. But it follows a pretty familiar formula, but this horror movie makes an admirable attempt to incorporate Indian culture and identity into its fabric. By the way, I'm surprised no one said this movie was woke. I'm surprised about that. I'm sure we'll get it soon. Then again, a lot of people forgot about it, so we don't know. The feature writing and directing debut of Indian-born Bashal Dutta, It Lives Inside, is incisive when it comes to dealing with the immigrant experience. Sam wants to separate herself from her Indian heritage. She shortens her name to Sam, befriends a white girl, seeks a white boyfriend, and only speaks English at home, while her more traditional mother speaks Hindi. And Sam's choice to leave her former BFF Tamira behind because she doesn't fit in Sam's new look is heartbreaking. Dutta also incorporates language and tradition into his story. For example, by showing Purna preparing a feast as an offering to the demon, ultimately defeating the demon is equivalent to Sam reclaiming her culture. That said, the main thrust of this movie is less than inspired. It's a typical horror movie about a demon latching onto a new victim and characters searching for the demon's origins, then finding a way to stop the demon, followed by the end, or is it ending? The movie feels like it's going through a lot of the horror genre emotions. It has not one but two nightmare sequences and other cliches. It can't even keep track of when it's raining. The rain starts and stops on a dime throughout. Dutta must have been better off embracing the personal even more closely rather than trying to fit into a pre-made genre mold. Yeah, now as far as that ending, let's just say that, okay, fine. I'm going to spoil it just a little bit. After she reconnects with her friend Tamira, and it's like, okay, everything's all back to normal and everything's good. Tamira walks away. Sam stares at the camera. She smiles for a bit. Then her smile kind of wipes away, and then a tear comes from her eye, and then it cuts to end credits. Now, I don't know if that implies does that imply a sequel? Are we talking a sequel here? I mean, if there is going to be a sequel, I'm down for it. Overall, I would give this movie I feel I can give this movie a good 7. I think that's what it deserves. And I've watched the movie twice. I've seen it in theaters when it came out, and I also just rewatched it on Hulu. I meant to actually give the review after I saw it in theaters, but I figured after it's been that long, watch it again, kind of refresh my memory to give a better take on it. Now, would I compare this to other horror films that I've seen recently? Like, even if I take away Scream and Halloween, Do I think this movie is as good as something like Smile or Evil Dead Rise or Megan? No, definitely not. Evil Dead Rise to me was a good 9. Smile was basically a good 9.5, if not a perfect 10. Megan, I think I would give like 9.5 as well. And this one gives a 7. So I would put those above this one. But of course, you all know none of this stuff reaches Scream or Halloween. But if you're into that type of stuff, suspenseful, psychological, horror, thriller, I think this is a good watch. Again, check it on Hulu. If you miss it on there, because they could take it off at any time, especially with it being a low-budget movie like this, I'm surprised it's been on there for as long as it has been. I'm surprised that it's been on there for as long as it has been. But if you miss it, there's always YouTube and Amazon. So, check it out. Like and subscribe. Have a lot more movies, mostly horror, coming your way. And stay tuned.